Jeffrey Jones is an American actor best known for his roles in Beetlejuice and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He also played Uncle Crenshaw Little in the 1999 Stuart Little film, as well playing Sir Swami in the Justice League animated TV show. Even with his success hitting some major roles, he would get arrested in 2002. In 2002, Jeffrey Jones was arrested for possession of CP and for soliciting a 14-year-old boy to produce explicit images between September 2000 and May 2001. Jones was found to have photographed the child, paying him to pose in various scenarios, including wearing a cowboy hat, surrounded by stuffed animals, and dressed as a Native American. After turning himself in, Jones was released on bond prior to his arraignment. He pleaded not guilty to the possession charge, but entered a no-contest plea to soliciting a minor. The misdemeanor charge of possession was dropped after the plea, and he was sentenced to 5 years of probation, counseling, and required to register as an offender. No allegations of physical contact were made. Jones faced additional legal issues, including 2 arrests for failing to update his offender registry status, once in Florida in 2004 and again in California in 2010. He pled guilty to the charges in California, resulting to 250 hours of community service and 3 years of probation. In 2006, during the production of Who's Your Caddy in Akeene, South Carolina, Jones' criminal record became a subject of local concern, as some residents believed the public should have been informed due to the family-friendly nature of the set. Caillou is a show created in 1997 aimed at toddlers. The show is about Caillou being with his parents and sister, where Caillou plays with his imaginary friends and participates in other activities. This show is extremely hated because it's not like this show is educational. Sure, it has its moments, but for the most part, the whole show is just Caillou crying and bitching. Caillou was voiced by Bryn McCauley, who voiced Caillou in Season 1, but left the show when the season ended. That's because Bryn was only 8 years old when the show first started, and had to step away because her family moved away, and having to drive Bryn back to the studio would be costly. She was later replaced by 17-year-old Jacqueline Leniski, who would voice Caillou from 2000 to 2003. Tragically, on September 8, 2003, Jacqueline and another actress were killed when the minivan they were in collided with a tractor trailer in Montreal, South Shore, Canada, causing them to pass away. Because of this, the studio had to find another voice actor for Caillou, which they ended up going with Andy Mack. It's a shame that we lost Jacqueline in this tragic accident, as she was only 17 years old and her career was barely taking off. Rest in peace. Andi Mack is a Disney Channel series that premiered on April 7, 2017. The show follows Andi, a teenage girl who lives with her grandparents, but she is unaware of this fact, believing that they're actually her parents. This revelation comes to light when Andi learns that her older sister, who had her when she was very young, is actually her biological mother. This series explores this complex family dynamic with a pretty deep storyline. Andi Mack is also the first show to star an openly gay character. Shockingly, it turns out that the actor who played Andi's grandfather is a creep. Stoney Westmoreland, a 52-year-old, was sentenced to 2 years in prison after being arrested in 2018 on child sex charges. Stoney pleaded guilty to using the internet to communicate with someone he believed was a minor. Originally indicted on a more serious charge of coercion and enticement of a minor, he faced a mandatory minimum of 10 years in prison. However, he accepted a plea deal for a lesser charge. According to his defense attorney, Wendy Lewis, the case stemmed from Stoney's interaction on a dating app Grindr, where he communicated with an undercover officer posing as a 13-year-old. He later claimed it was a role-playing scenario that went too far. When he arrived at the meeting spot, he allegedly told his rideshare driver to wait in case he decided not to stay. His lawyer argued that if it had been an actual minor, he would have left, but the risk of a harsh sentence led him to take the plea deal. Following his release, Stoney will be under supervision for 10 years and required to register as an offender for 25 years. His internet access will also be heavily restricted, allowing only one personal device, which will be subject to random inspections. Shortly after his arrest, Disney fired Stoney Westmoreland. canceling all of his appearances on Andi Mack. He had portrayed Henry Mack, the grandfather of the main character. This raised an issue for Disney as they stopped playing reruns of episodes that included Stoney. If you go to Disney Plus right now and search up Andi Mack Season 1, you'll only have 2 out of the 12 episodes pop up. It's a shame that one actor tainted the reputation of a pretty solid show. I haven't seen it myself, but it has some pretty good reviews and I do remember many people talking about the show. Jim'll Fix It was a British TV show that aired on the BBC from May 1975 to July 1994, hosted by Jimmy Savile. Created by Bill Cotton, the show invited children to send letters to Savile, requesting a special wish. At the end of each episode, one child's wish was granted, and they were awarded a medal as a keepsake. Jimmy was in a handful of children's television shows, but Jim'll Fix It was one of the most popular shows. However, it turns out that Jimmy Savile was a monster all along. Jimmy was always known for his charitable work and was a respected man in the community, so it came as a shock when it was discovered in late 2012, a year after his passing, that he had been a predator all along. Though rumors about his behavior had circulated throughout his career, serious investigations were not launched until after his death. In November 2011, BBC's Newsnight began looking into allegations against Savile, but the investigation was abruptly halted before its findings could be aired. A few months later, the Sunday Mirror exposed the decision to scrap the report, bringing the scandal into public view. The following year, ITV's documentary Exposure: The Other Side of Jimmy Savile aired the testimony of several women who accused him of abuse. However, this was only the beginning. As public outrage grew, both the BBC and the National Health Service launched investigations. The BBC appointed former High Court Judge Dame Janet Smith to review Savile's actions during his tenure there. Her report, published 3 years later, revealed that he had abused dozens of victims on BBC premises and that some staff were aware but too afraid to speak up. Meanwhile, police launched their own inquiry and in November 2012 described the scale of abuse as staggering and unprecedented. Between 1955 and 2009, Savile assaulted 450 people, many of them minors. His fame gave him access to vulnerable children, hospital patients, and viewers, allowing him to prey on young guests and audience members at Top of the Pops and Jim'll Fix It, even groping at least one victim on camera. He also exploited his connections to several hospitals. At Leeds, he had his own private room, while at Broadmoor, he was given a set of keys. He frequently visited Duncroft Accrue School for Girls, where he would take teenage girls for rides in his car. Following these revelations, Savile's family had his gravestone removed from the cemetery. His honors were revoked, charities bearing his name shut down, and other memorials were dismantled, making Jimmy Savile as one of the most disturbing predators in television. For the record, there's way more to the story of Jimmy Savile, as he was a big monster, and if I really wanted to, I could make an hour-long video talking about him. But as of now, this was just a Cliff Note version about this horrible monster. Rod Hull was a British comedian best known for his television appearance in the 1970s and 1980s, often accompanied by his mischievous puppet, Emu. The silent, aggressive bird became Hull's trademark, allowing him to create chaotic and unpredictable comedy while deflecting responsibility for Emu's antics. Hull's act relied on a cleverly disguised fake arm, giving the illusion that Emu moved on his own. The puppet was known for its sudden, often physical outburst, latching onto unsuspecting guests, and even causing disruption in high-profile settings. One infamous moment occurred at the Royal Variety performance when Emu destroyed the Queen Mother's bouquet. Another well-known incident took place in 1976 when Emu repeatedly attacked Michael Parkinson on his own talk show. This incident prompted fellow guest Billy Connolly to issue a threat against Emu. Hull eventually toned down his use of Emu, perhaps mindful of the potential impact on his career. In later years, in a 2007 interview with Charlotte, the late veteran comedy producer Michael Hurl said to Hull, "Look, Rod, you've got your hand in that emu of girl skirts and squeezing their tits, doing things you would get locked up for." Like I said, he did tone down his use of emu because that guy was wilding, because he did touch multiple people without their consent. Ren and Stimpy is an animated television series created by John Kricfalusi that aired from 1991 to 1995. The show follows the chaotic adventures of Ren, who's a chihuahua, and Stimpy, a dim-witted but good-natured cat. Known for its surreal humor, exaggerated animations, and grotesque visuals, the series developed a cult following for its unconventional storytelling. However, it also faced controversy due to its adult themes despite airing on Nickelodeon as a children's program. In 2003, a more mature spin-off, Ren and Stimpy Adult Party Cartoon, was released aimed at an older audience. Back in 2018, two women named Robin Bird and Katie Rice came forward with sexual misconduct allegations against the Ren and Stimpy creator, accusing them of preying on them when they were underage in a lengthy interview with BuzzFeed. Both Robin and Katie shared similar stories. They were both young, aspiring animators who reached out to John to potentially further their careers. They were allegedly met with predatory behavior. Robin claimed that in 1994, when she was only 13 years old, she began talking with the creator of Ren and Stimpy via letters. When she was 16, he allegedly flew her to LA and essayed her near his studio. She says for a while she moved in with him, first temporarily, then permanently when she was 17 after graduating from high school. During that time, Robin also said that, unbeknownst to her, John took explicit photos of her, which he showed to people at parties. Katie also had similar claims that she also talked to John over AOL when she was only 14 years old. Katie claimed that he made a lot of sexually inappropriate remarks towards her, and that one time he even beat his meat while they were on a phone call. When Katie turned 18, she offered her an animation job, where John would then essay her. According to BuzzFeed, both women have old letters, emails, and transcripts that support their claims. John was also alleged to have CP in his computer, though the allegations were eventually reported to the police. They could neither arrest nor investigate John because the statute of limitations had passed. In response, John's lawyer confirmed that for a brief time, 25 years ago, he had a 16-year-old girlfriend, but denied that John's avid pursuit of Katie was SH, or that he had ever possessed CP. John released an apology to the women and his fans for his behavior, which he said was motivated by undiagnosed bipolar disorder and ADHD, as well as poor impulse control. Robin and Katie criticized John's statements as a non-apology and an attempt to deflect blame. Due to the allegations, John was not involved with the Ren and Stimpy revival on Comedy Central, nor will he receive any financial compensations from it. Joy Junction was a Christian-themed children's game show that aired in the mid-1980s on the Christian television network before later being syndicated on Kids Club and Smile. Hosted by Don McAllister as Sheriff Don, the show was set in the fictional village of Joy Junction and featured town residents like Mrs. Peterson, the Professor, Deputy Les, Ron, and his puppet Marty. Children participated in various challenges while learning biblical lessons, with musical performance and a recurring segment featuring Ron and Marty. In 2013, Ronald Brown, who played Ron and operated Marty, was arrested on child porn charges. Authorities uncovered disturbing online conversations between Brown and Michael Arnett, where they discussed graphic fantasies of abusing, killing, and eating children, including one child Brown had personally met at a church performance. His troubling history extended back to 1998 when police discovered a pair of boys' underwear in his car, though he avoided charges by claiming they were for his puppets. In 2012, Brown was arrested and subsequently sentenced to 20 years in prison for possession of CP and conspiracy to kidnap a child after police discovered messages on a dark web chat room detailing this. Before his arrest, Brown regularly performed at his church and hosted pizza parties for children at his home. Brown died in prison on August 5, 2020 at the age of 65 due to a motor neuron disease. Due to this scandal and how obscure this show was, there weren't that many archived footage of the show. For years, only 2 full episodes and scattered clips were available on YouTube. However, as of June 2024, 39 episodes have resurfaced. A commercial featuring characters from the show once advertised physical copies of Joy Junction and Becky's Barn for a $12 donation, though no known copies have been found. Thank you guys for watching till the end of this video, and sorry for the crappy lighting. My ring light broke, so yeah, we got this going on. And if you guys enjoyed this video, you will love this one right here, where I talk about the 7 most disturbing PSAs.